Diversity 2, today's subject, your family tree, or your heritage, or your genealogy. Some call it the pedigree. The standby, diversity 2, family tree. One year I was doing a study, a correspondence with Maryland Hickey Bible College, and they had us to do a research paper on our family tree. So I began to dig and to ask questions and to make phone calls and to find out about my family. And the more I asked, the more I began to dig and research, the more interesting it became. I remember talking to some aunties, and my auntie would make some calls out of town and get some confirmations on some things. And I would ask my uncle, and he got mad and he said, we have bones in the closet. You don't want to dig up bones. And I thought, yeah, I want to dig up everything. I want to know. So they began to share things with me. And I went as far back as the 1600s to an Indian tribe that was called the Gilkis. They had migrated out of Ohio, a reservation that was in Ohio, and they migrated to Marianna, Arkansas. And my family moved around from Marianna, Arkansas to West Helena, Arkansas, and where I was born. So the family tree is very interesting. I have a picture here of my grandmother's mother. Here her maiden name was Gilkey. I looked that name up, and it sounds like an Indian name to me. Look at the features on her face. Her face looks like an Indian. I heard that she was from a half-blooded Cherokee Indian tribe. So the features on her face shows. But on this map here, we had to do. I have one in my hand. The same map that's here behind me. I had to do this genealogy, and this is the family all the way back to the 1600s. And start with my my mother's mother, and goes back a little further, and it runs all the way down to my grandmother and my mom and her kids. Now this is just my mother's side. It's just my mother's side of the family. My father's side goes back to England, but this side goes back to Indian tribe that had migrated out of Ohio. So it goes down, and it runs the family all the way down to my time with my mom and her kids. And it's amazing how they spread out. We had to give information about what they were doing, what type of jobs they had, how long did some of these people live, and where did they live, and we had to give information about their marriages. Did their marriages last? How long did their marriages last? Was their life stable? So we had to put check marks about next to the squares or the circles that were stable and those were unstable. Any alcoholics, any interesting points that would run through the family, and we had to actually put the information on paper. And I ended up getting an A. I was really wanting to know how the structure was going to come out. And from the 1600s all the way down to the time that I finished my paper, very interesting study. The kids, the grandkids, and their kids, and it was an amazing study. There's another genealogy that's in the King James Bible, from Genesis 11 chapter, Luke the 4th chapter, and Matthew chapter 1. It runs all the way from Adam all the way down to Joseph. I wanted to learn the genealogy too, so I began to write it down and try to learn where each name fits and what they did. And that was a pretty tedious thing, a very long process to try to get that down. I wanted to learn it by memory. So what I did was I took some flashcards, different sizes, 2x4, 5x6, whichever size these come in, and I would even take some file folders. I would cut them up into large squares about this size here. Have in my hand, and I would take and put each name, one per card. Except when I first started off, I would make like do Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel, and put the first son. But on each of the other separate cards, I would put each of the following generation, or the following person that was born. I would take, depending on how many names there were, I would take and hang these up on the wall and let it run all the way down to the floor and all the way across the floor, because there were so many names. And I wanted to learn how to get them in place in my mind, to memorize them. So this is what I did. I would take and cut the cards out, and I would tape them together. There were so many of them, I say, and I have to put this to the top of the ceiling, or where the wall ends, and let it run all the way down to the floor, and just run out continually until I run out of space. Sometimes I might have to make 2 rows to get all the names on there. I wanted to know where they fit and what they did, and how this whole thing came together. From Adam all the way down to Joseph. And this particular genealogy here that I studied, it was on Joseph's side of the family. There's another genealogy in Luke chapter 3 that deals with Mary's side of the family. But this one that I did the study on was called the righteous line. That was on Joseph's side of the family, was all the way down from Adam and Eve, all the way down to Joseph. And so I'll stand by the verse too, the genealogy of the family tree. The genealogy that's in Genesis, in the King James Version, Genesis chapter 11, and Ruth, the book of Ruth chapter 4, and the book of Matthew chapter 1. Adam and Eve had 2 sons, Cain and Abel, and Cain had killed Abel, but God gave Eve another son by the name of Seth. Seth begot Enos. When I say begot, it means that's the next son that is born. In the Old Elizabeth English and the King James Version, the 1611 version, it mentions begot. So Adam and Eve had Cain and Abel. Cain had killed Abel, but God gave Eve another son by the name of Seth. Seth begot Enos. Enos begot Cainan. Cainan begot Mahalalel. Mahalalel begot Jared. Jared begot Enoch. Enoch had a son by the name of Methuselah. He lived 969 years. Methuselah begot Lamech. Lamech begot Noah. Noah had, and his wife had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. 2 years after the flood, Noah's firstborn son, Shem, begot Arphaxad. Arphaxad begot Selah. Selah begot Eber. Eber had a son by the name of Peleg. Peleg's son's name was Reu. Reu had Serug. Serug begot Nahor. Nahor had a son by the name of Terah. Terah and his wife had 3 sons, Abram, A-B-R-A-M, Nahor, and Haran. Abram's name was changed to Abraham. It said that he became a father of many nations. Terah took the family and traveled, the history says, traveled along the Euphrates River up to a country by the name of Haran, to a city by the name of Mesopotamia, and there Terah had died. Abraham and his wife were barren. They couldn't have children, but God promised them that they would. But Sarah wanted to help him out, so she was given, she gave her slave servant Hagar to Abraham to bear children for her, and that's how Ishmael was born. But the promise came around, and Isaac, the promised son, was born, so Isaac is the heir. So Isaac ended up marrying Abraham's second older brother's son's daughter, Rebekah. So Isaac and Rebekah had Jacob and Esau. But the seed ended up with Jacob. Jacob ended up with 4 wives and 13 children. His wives were Leah, Rachel, Bilhah, and Zilpah. And by these 4 women he had these 13 children, which were Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Dinah, which is the only daughter of Joseph and Benjamin. But the seed ended up with the 4th-born son, Judah. Judah begot Perez. Perez begot Ezron. Ezron begot Am. Am begot Aminadab. Aminadab had Neasson. Neasson begot Salmon. Salmon begot Salmon married. Salmon begot Boaz, and Boaz married a lady by the name of Ruth. And Boaz and Ruth had a son by the name of Obed, and Obed had a son by the name of Jesse. Now Jesse had about 8 sons. The baby son became King David. They called him the sweet psalmist of Israel. Now David had a son by adultery. He had Uriah the Hittite killed one of his generals in his army that he may take his wife. But God punished David for that after David repented. But David ended up with a lot of sons, but this is the son that came into the inheritance. His name was Solomon. Now Solomon got Rehoboam. Rehoboam got Abiah. Abiah got Asa. Asa had a son by the name of Jehoshaphat. Jehoshaphat begot Joram. Joram begot Osias. Osias begot Jotham. Jotham begot Achaz. Achaz begot Ezekiel, who's also called King Hezekiah. Ezekiel begot Manasseh. Manasseh begot Amon. Amon begot Josias. About the time they were carried away to Babylon around 606 BC by King Nebuchadnezzar the first. After they were brought to Babylon, Josiah begot Jeconiah and his brethren. Jeconiah begot Selathiel. Selathiel begot Zerubbabel. Zerubbabel begot Abihud. Abihud begot Eliakim. Eliakim begot Azor. Azor begot Zadok. Zadok begot Achim. Achim begot Elihud. Elihud begot Eleazar. Eleazar begot Mathan. Mathan begot Jacob. Jacob begot Joseph. Now, this particular Joseph was the one that was engaged to the virgin Mary. So that's the genealogy from Adam and Eve all the way down to Joseph, the person that was engaged to the virgin Mary. The verse 32. Your family tree. Everybody has a family tree. Everybody has a pedigree, a heritage, a genealogy. Thanks for watching. Verse 32. And don't forget to subscribe.